The Resilience Across Borders podcast is intended for education, support, and inspiration. I am not a psychologist or a medical doctor and do not offer any professional, medical, or health advice. If you are dealing with or suffering from any psychological or medical conditions, please seek help from a qualified health professional. Hello and welcome to Resilience Across Borders podcast. I'm your host, Rashid Zahidi, and also author of the Imogym Journal, which is a guidebook and workbook to get clear and stay focused on your priorities and institute better habits. So in today's episode, we'll talk about what happens when you outgrow your environment. In other words, recognizing and navigating expansion. Growth is often celebrated in theory, but misunderstood in practice. Many people imagine growth as an upward, smooth trajectory, learning new things, improving skills, achieving goals, and steadily becoming a better version of themselves. While all these things may be happening, but real growth often carries also an unexpected side effect. It can make your current environment feel smaller or not fit you anymore. So at some point in life, you may begin to sense a subtle friction. Conversations that once energized you now feel repetitive. Habits that once felt comfortable now feel limiting. Opportunities that once seemed sufficient now feel narrow and insufficient. This experience is often a sign that you are outgrowing your environment. So, outgrowing an environment does not necessarily mean something is wrong with the people or places around you. It simply means your internal development has expanded beyond the structure that once supported it. Recognizing this transition and navigating it wisely is a critical part of personal evolution. So with that in mind, following are several strategies to help you recognize and move through this phase constructively. So number one, pay attention to persistent friction. One of the earliest signals that you are outgrowing your environment is persistent internal tension. This may appear as boredom, restlessness, or a quiet sense that you are meant to be doing more. Often, people misinterpret this feeling as dissatisfaction or ingratitude. In reality, it may simply be the psyche's way of saying that your current surroundings are no longer aligned with your emerging identity. Let's do a couple of examples. You notice that conversations with friends revolve around the same complaints or topics, while you increasingly want to discuss ideas, growth, or new projects. Okay, that's one way to recognize it. Another example is at work. Tasks that once felt challenging now feel mundane, routine, and you begin imagining ways to contribute beyond your current role. So instead of dismissing this as just simple friction, treat it as a valuable feedback about your direction or growth. Use it to steer you in the direction that you want to go. Number two, differentiate between discomfort and misalignment. This is very important. Growth naturally involves discomfort. When you're growing, you're also going to be uncomfortable. That's the path to growth. But not all discomfort signals a need to leave something behind. It is important to distinguish between productive challenge and environmental misalignment or mismatch. So productive challenge stretches you while still allowing growth. So you're challenged, but you're stretched, but you're growing. Misalignment restricts growth and repeatedly pulls you back into smaller patterns and probably ongoing and consistent frustration. For instance, learning a difficult new skill at work may feel uncomfortable, but ultimately expands your capability. That is productive discomfort. On the other hand, being surrounded by people who dismiss your goals or discourage ambition may create a different kind of discomfort, one that suppresses growth rather than stimulates it. So you don't need that one. A useful question to ask yourself is, does this environment challenge me to grow, or does it pressure me to shrink? So number 3, accept that growth can create distance. One of the most emotionally difficult aspects of expansion is that it can create distance from familiar relationships or environments. When your priorities change, your rhythms change as well. What once felt perfectly aligned may gradually feel less. This does not necessarily mean you must sever ties or reject your past. Often it simply means your path is evolving in ways that require new spaces and new influences. So, for instance, you may begin spending more time reading, learning, or building projects, while some friends prefer activities that no longer align with your priorities. Another example is your professional ambitions might expand beyond the scope of your current organization or even industry. So recognizing this distance with compassion allows you to move forward without unnecessary guilt. Number 4, seek environments that match your next level. Growth rarely occurs in isolation. One of the most effective ways to navigate expansion is to intentionally place yourself in environments that support the person you are becoming. So humans adapt remarkably to their surroundings. When you place yourself among people who are striving, learning, and building, your own growth accelerates. For instance, joining a professional association, a mastermind group, or industry community where members share your ambitions, or attending conferences, workshops, or courses that expose you to people operating at the level you aspire to reach. The goal is not to abandon your past environment, but to add new environments that reflect your expanding capacity. Of course, if your past environment is toxic or totally unhelpful, obviously feel free to leave it behind. Number 5, upgrade your internal identity. Outgrowing an environment is not just about changing external circumstances. It also requires upgrading how you see yourself. Many people experience internal resistance during expansion because their self-image remains tied to an earlier stage of life. When your identity expands, your choices begin to reflect that new internal definition. So instead of thinking, I am someone who occasionally shares ideas, you begin identifying as a writer, creator, or thought leader, and structure your time accordingly. Or instead of seeing yourself as someone who merely participates in conversations, you start viewing yourself as someone who initiates projects or leads initiatives. Identity shifts often precede visible external change. Number 6, expect temporary loneliness during transition. Periods of growth often create a bridge phase where you no longer fully belong to your old environment, but have not yet fully integrated into a new one, into a new environment. This transitional space can feel lonely or uncertain. It's almost like a little bit no man's land because you're neither here or there. However, it's just a crossing. It's also a powerful period of personal consolidation. So you may find yourself spending more time alone while focusing on learning, creating, or redefining your goals. You might also temporarily feel out of sync with both your previous peer group and the new circles you are entering. Rather than viewing this phase as a setback, see it as the quiet corridor between two chapters of your life. Number 7, move forward with respect, not resentment. When people outgrow an environment, they sometimes develop resentment toward it. But the environments that once supported you deserve acknowledgement, and deserve respect. Every stage of life prepares you for the next. Approaching expansion with gratitude and grace allows you to leave old chapters gracefully while embracing new ones with clarity. So instead of criticizing your previous workplace, you recognize how it helped develop your early skills and experience. It was relevant for you at a certain stage. Also, you maintain respectful relationships with people whose paths are simply different from yours. Again, as long as there's no toxicity in there or other severely negative reasons to totally sever that. Growth becomes far healthier when it is guided by appreciation rather than rejection. So, outgrowing your environment is not a failure of loyalty or a failure of character. It is a natural outcome of personal development. As you evolve, your surroundings must evolve as well. Some environments will continue to grow with you, while others will remain valuable chapters in your past. The key is learning to recognize expansion without fear. When you do, you realize that growth does not mean abandoning your roots. It means allowing your life to become larger than the container that once held it. And often, that expansion is precisely where the most meaningful opportunities begin. So, as always, thank you for tuning into the Resilience Across Borders podcast. Please share the podcast, please review it. All of that encourages us to continue to make more episodes. And so you can follow the blog posts and new episodes. The URL is at resilience.com, atresilience.com. I'm about to turn this into a song. Remember to be kind to yourself and be kind to others and stay resilient.